Kia ora and welcome along to the Met Service Severe Weather Update for today, Wednesday the 31st of May. Well, we're keeping an eye on things down the South Island once again. Strong winds across parts of Canterbury and Otago as we head through towards Thursday and early hours of Friday, but also more wet weather feeding on towards the western side of the South Island. You can see we've got this cloud feeding up in from the south that's pushing a fair bit of wet weather on towards that western facing side of the South Island as we go through the rest of today for Wednesday, but also through to Thursday and even in towards those early hours of Friday. You can see this next area of wet weather feeds in from the south. Ahead of that, some really strong northwesterly winds, especially those inland parts of the South Island. We are going to find that rainfall moves up towards the north as we head in towards Friday, but generally things are looking a lot better as we head up towards the northern parts of the country. So we've got most of our wet weather and our severe weather winds down on the far southern parts of the country. Heaviest rainfall, though, you can see piles on towards that western coast of the South Island as we head through the rest of this afternoon for Wednesday through to Thursday and even through towards that first part of Friday. The heaviest rain through parts of Fiordland and Western, especially up about the ranges north of about Doubtful Sound and south of about Otira. And it's worth saying that in amongst that as well, we are going to find some thunderstorms. And they're going to bring some locally really intense bursts of rain, especially as we go through Thursday afternoon onwards. So here we are. Let's start things off with those heavy rainfall warnings on the western side of the country. For Fiordland, we have this warning out right the way through until 9 p.m. on Thursday. So right the way through the rest of this afternoon for Wednesday through into Thursday. Rainfall totals, 150 to 200 millimetres of rain about the tops of the ranges more than anything else, and especially those areas north of Doubtful Sound. Worth saying again as well, the chance of some of those thunderstorms as we go through the rest of today and especially through in towards Thursday afternoon. We've also got a heavy rain watch out for the other side of the hills out towards the headwaters of the lakes and rivers of Otago, and that runs from the early part of Thursday morning till the evening time, 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. on Thursday, for that heavy rainfall being pushed across by those northwesterly winds. Sticking with that western side and moving just a little bit further northwards up towards Westland, particularly those areas south of Otira, we've got more wet weather. Now this is a fairly long warning. It runs right away from this evening, about 6 p.m. on Wednesday, right the way through in towards those early hours of Friday morning. Rainfall totals, 160 to 220 millimetres of rainfall about the tops of the ranges. Lesser amounts, but still fairly substantial amounts, 80 to 120 millimetres down towards the coast. And again, with that risk of thunderstorms, especially as we head through towards that second half of the day on Thursday, and they could well bring with them some pretty intense bursts of rain. It's also worth saying with those stronger northwesterly winds, that rain will get pushed across the top of the main divide in towards the headwaters of the lakes and rivers of Canterbury. So we have a heavy rain warning in place for there as well, especially as we go through the end of the day on Wednesday. So the warning here starts around about 8 o'clock or so, and it carries on right the way through in towards the early part of Friday too. Also, watch out for the rest of Westland up in towards Buller, again with that risk of some thunderstorms through towards the early hours of Friday morning. But as we saw, it's not just that wet weather. We've also got some strong winds to watch out for across that eastern side and the southern side as well. So we have a strong wind watch out for pretty much everywhere from Stewart Island right the way up in towards the Canterbury High Country. Now that watch for, say, Stewart Island, Southland, Fiordland and Otago runs right the way through from midday on Thursday to about midnight Thursday into Friday, whereas that watch for Canterbury continues a little bit longer through to about midday on Friday. So we have got a fairly large area there. We are going to find the strongest winds inland about those most exposed areas, and that's where we could find those winds reaching perhaps a severe gale in the most exposed areas. So it's worth keeping an eye on the forecast, and like I say, eases away earlier down the south, but we'll keep hold of that watch right way through to Friday afternoon up across parts of the Canterbury High Country. So a windy old story through there. That is going to help lift our temperatures, but I think it will be a fairly blustery story. Worth saying, as we head through the weekend, Saturday's looking like the best day of the long weekend. There's another area of wet weather starting to push back towards us by the end of the weekend. That's it from me. This is from metservice.com.